Welcome back to Actual Proper Podcast. I'm Reece Farkash. With me is Twila Amato.
Hello.
So we have big news in our live. We've finally seen the New Mutants. And yes, that is great news. And big news because it's like one of the few movies that's coming out this year. And it's something that if you've followed like a few episodes ago, I've gone on and on about how hilarious this is. So on my birthday, when this movie came out, we managed to get tickets. It wasn't very hard.
Yeah.
I booked tickets the night before it opened.
Yeah.
And there was actually like all the seats were open. And there's only like 6, because you could only have like 6 pairs of people in the theater, of like a theater that could hold probably about 60, 70 people. They only had like 12 people.
Yeah, it was very, very empty. And even...
It was really cool, though. It was really cool.
Well, feeling. I mean, even just the theater and the city on a Friday night was quite empty, surprisingly.
No, downtown was very busy during the day because you had a story to go to.
That was
I guess at the nighttime.
Yeah, the nighttime. But what I mean is like the amenities and kind of like the nightlife. It's somehow just kind of... I mean, obviously, rightfully so. It's a little more diminished, seeing that. There's a lot less people wanting to go out, but also a lot less people can be accommodated in movie theaters, clubs, what have you. You know what I mean? And so last night, there were before us. There were 3 friends trying to get tickets to a movie. What was it that they were trying to watch?
I don't know. It was nothing.
Yeah,
nothing that I've ever heard of. So.
Yeah, it was the other one. And then there was us, and that was kind of that. And then there were how many other couples were there in the theater with us?
4.
5. And then...
But yeah, when I was booking the seats, like our tickets, like the seats, those were the only seats that they were selling, was like those 6 pairs.
Right.
Of seats.
Which, again,
and they were like really
sense.
Spaced out. Like
Yeah,
in a theater that could hold like 70 people probably. There was like 12 people maximum. Yeah. So it was really cool. And like we had the theater that we have in town here, it's one of the like best theaters ever, where it has reclining leather like sofas. And it's the coolest
that was pretty
thing.
good.
It's the best movie experience. It's without a doubt the best movie experience.
That was the first time that I've ever definitely experienced like reclining seats in a movie theater or any theater in general, just because I mean all the theaters in Vancouver that I've been to and all the other places, they've all been like the smaller, I guess, standard seat sizes, which Reece says are all too small for him, but you can fit 2 of me in one seat.
They're not comfortable though for like a movie viewing.
Really?
They're just
I think they're
not they don't have a lot of back support. Like they only goes like a third of
I
the
guess
way up
for
my
a
back.
smaller like
so
person
I have to like
myself.
really like move my butt up like to the very end, and then like there's no lumbar support, so my back is like going to it's a mess. But
so a taller person,
if you ever have
it's fine.
the chance to,
I mean, it's not fine.
If you ever have the chance to go see a movie with like the reclining seats, do it. It's top tier, dude.
It's not bad. Yeah,
I don't think many cities have it, but holy crap. It's how you should, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anyway, back to the fact
we
that we saw a
movie.
movie that came out, and this is a movie that's been in production or was delayed, postponed.
It was done
for like
the movie
3
was
years,
done
right?
For 3 years.
Yeah, and it just wasn't released for the last.
It was done in 2017,
which is kind of sad.
Which is so funny, but first of all,
it came out.
Yeah, how did you like it? We'll just do how we liked it, and then our thoughts on it and stuff.
Okay,
like that.
well. First and foremost, for someone who doesn't have any background in, mutants or X-Men or anything like that, or comics, I thought it was absolutely stellar. I thought it was very well done. I'm also very easy to scare, so that was the fact that I wasn't screaming in the theater, I think is an A+ for sure. So I thought it was very well done. I thoroughly enjoyed myself watching it for sure. So yes, I absolutely enjoyed it. Yeah.
I enjoyed it very well as well. I mean, I haven't seen a new movie in like a year, but I still think it was I still think it was really good.
Well, nearly a year, because I mean the last movie that we saw in theaters was Star Wars.
Yeah.
The last installment of that.
Beginning of January, I think. was like
Was it? I
second
don't
or
remember.
third.
This was way before Rona happened, and I remember that movie being so jam-packed, and we couldn't find tickets for the longest time. We tried all the theaters
We
in
tried
town.
for like a week
We
straight.
even had to go all the way to West Kelowna to actually watch this movie, and even then that night it was fairly jam-packed.
Yeah.
And to think that that's just not how the theater going experience is going to be like now, you know?
That was probably. Oh, sorry. I will turn
Reece.
it up. That was probably the craziest, busiest movie experience I've ever been to.
Every Star
Even
Wars
The
movie
Force
is always
Awakens.
like that.
I don't know. The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and
Oh,
even
The Force Awakens was very busy.
even Rogue One and like
Those were very busy. Solo was very
Solo?
busy.
I've never had anything like that.
Really?
Yeah, no.
I think I'm speaking from like the whole Lower Mainland experience where there's a ton of people, right? And there's a lot of
same with
people
Edmonton.
who go to these movies. I don't know. Like Star
It's
Wars just has a
the
very
same.
big audience, I think.
Yeah,
in the
but
Lower
it's
Mainland.
kind of just the same anywhere.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's fairly ubiquitous.
Yeah, but you were saying that
popularity of Star
there's
Wars.
just never.
I've never seen it that crazy,
Right.
like packed before, like for any
That's what I'm
movie
talking
ever.
about. Okay, but anyway.
Do they just have no movie theaters in the Lower Mainland?
No, they have a lot, but that's what I mean. Is they always just pack and sell out Star Wars movies, and I don't know why that is.
It might be in Edmonton. They have a ton of massive movie theaters, so maybe
That may be so.
Or like the movies I always went to were at the West Edmonton Mall, like right beside where I live, because I lived right there. Maybe people just didn't want to see movies at the mall. Totally understandable. You don't want to go to the mall like so busy and so packed to go see a movie. But
Anyway, what
was fun.
were our thoughts on this
so
New Mutants?
overall, I really, really enjoyed it. It's definitely my favorite.
Oh, it is?
Of the movies in the. I hesitate to say X-Men series because it's not in the X-Men series.
Right.
I want to say in the Sony movies, excluding Spider-Man: Homecoming and the Spider-Man, because I mean those are produced by Marvel still, like Marvel Studios. But everything that Sony's done so far, or whoever owns the X-Men, I forget. It's just Fox.
I think
it's
Fox.
Fox.
Yeah.
I always get those mixed up.
I know
every single
that
time. But yeah, this is my favorite from what they've put out.
A lot of people did not like this movie,
Mhm.
and a
Yeah.
lot of professional reviews as well, and you
Yeah.
know, are saying that this is the worst X-Men movie, and
Which is such a lie.
right, and
such
so
a bold lie.
So that's why I wanted to pass the mic to you on this. Is that why are they saying that it's the worst X-Men movie when it isn't really an X-Men movie? So
Right.
explain to us.
Yeah, because I kind of told you all about this last
Yes.
night. Well, see, what a lot of people don't really understand is, while yes, they are superheroes and they are mutants in this story, they're not even superheroes. They're people with powers. But anyway, they're mutants. The X-Men, people know them as mutants too. But the X-Men are a small group of people.
Right.
The mutants are like an extra race of people in the Marvel universe. They're not X-Men. X-Men are a group of mutants, but that's like 1%, less than 1% of all mutants. Like, it's like saying that every human alive is part of the government of Canada. Like, it's
right.
it's
So
ridiculous.
it's kind of like a certain occupation.
Yeah,
You might want to
exactly.
say, right?
It's like a job.
That kind of, I guess, class of
Yeah.
people have.
It has nothing to do with the X-Men.
Right, exactly. And that
Just because
I
you're a
think-
mutant doesn't mean you have anything to do with the X-Men.
And I think maybe because a part of it, and I had this misconception as well myself when I first came into this movie that, hey, and remember I asked you, so are they really truly part of the X-Men universe? Like, are they going to be X-Men, when they grow up, et cetera, et cetera? And the thing is that not every mutant becomes an part of that X-Men like universe.
There's
It's
a
not
million
like,
different groups of mutants.
yeah, and it's not like these new mutants, it's not like it was, I don't know, like Wolverine, like origin story or whatever. Like, this is an origin story for another generation of mutants.
Well, just more people.
More people, exactly. And
people
so,
who aren't part of the X-Men.
right. And so I think that was, I guess, the misconception that we all had at this, and that's why a lot of professional reviews and even a lot of people, did not like the movie because of that, because they felt, I guess, misled maybe, or maybe that it wasn't up to par with all the other previous X-Men movies where it's maybe jam-packed with, I don't know, action and suspense and stuff like that.
The
whereas
overall
this one,
tone of the action.
right, whereas this one just
trash.
obviously is different, right? So yeah, I don't know, maybe I just maybe the reason why I am bringing this up and I feel so strongly about it is because I really liked this movie. I don't know, like it's fairly close to me now that I think about it, mostly because, again, and we were talking about this last night on the way back home, was the representation that meant a lot to me, especially during this time of, unrest and where everybody is fighting for representation and to be heard and to be out there. And then you have this movie where it has all colors of the rainbow, you might want to say, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just all white people. They're, different, like in a Hollywood setting. You don't always see like maybe a poor southern boy, or like even a Native American character, or just a Russian like character. You don't always see that.
And before we get into that, I want to go back to before, and then I'll lead into, because that's a huge part of the conversation itself. But to go back to why people were talking about it being an X-Men film is because if you're very much a casual comic book consumer, or if you've Googled stuff before the film happened, you would see that they have the New Mutants as a group has ties to the X-Men. Like, they work really closely together.
I was just going to say that they have those close ties as well.
Yeah, so they do, very much so. And a lot of them have been X-Men in the comic, in like the
in the
decades
comic world.
of since they've been created. But the New Mutants has always been very much their own group itself, and they do different things than the X-Men do, even though they work closely together and, they might be on the X-Men. They represent a whole different idea within the mutants landscape in Marvel Comics. So, starting off with the original X-Men team, when it was first created, they launched into the giant-size X-Men, where we see some more familiar faces in the X-Men landscape, like Storm, Wolverine, Colossus, Nightcrawler. That's where they all came from. They weren't there since the beginning. And then when they kind of like launched again for a new age, because like, they launch reflecting the times, kind of a thing. And when they launched the New Mutants, it was for a new generation and a new, I guess, like, for a new generation that's more culturally aware. So that's why there is so much diversity in the New Mutants, and they all have their own issues and problems, and they also have a lot more social awareness than the previous like vanilla X-Men to say.
Right.
So they don't really serve the same purpose, and they don't do the same things as X-Men, and the New Mutants are very much their own thing.
Right. Which is fair enough.
And I was also very excited because this film was the first kind of subsection of a superhero film that was a genre film as well. So it was a horror genre of a superhero film, which I would love to see so much more. They claim that Doctor Strange 2 is going to be like that, but that's going to be the biggest lie ever.
I mean,
Marvel Studios does not have the balls to make a horror movie when they could make so many hundreds of millions selling tickets and toys to kids. They're not going to lose that. Are you kidding me? You okay? You going to sneeze?
It was the sneeze was going to come, but then it just like aborted itself. So there you go.
Yeah, no. Marvel will never stray from their formula.
Yeah, of the action.
They will stray from it when it's clawed from their cold, dead fingers. They never will. But anyway,
this was pretty good. But so for a horror film, it wasn't that scary.
It wasn't that
to
scary.
Me, anyway.
But
I don't know.
There's different genres of horror films. Not every horror film is necessarily particularly frightening.
Fair enough. This is horror action more like.
Yeah, but horror films could also be, just generally unsettling, suspenseful. There's just so many different subgenres of that genre. So to say a horror film is just blanket statement like making you scared all the time and trying to scare you isn't technically the truth. But anyway, as to why critics hate this movie so much, or why a lot of people do, one, they have a very valid reason if they bring up it feels all very choppy sometimes, and the pacing's just all over the place because
Fair
of
enough.
the insane amount of reshoots that was done. Now, at the end, I don't think that this was harming the movie at all. I mean, it wasn't trying to be anything perfect and crazy. It wasn't trying to be a blockbuster. It's just a low budget spin-off movie. What do you want from it? And it flows enough like with the edits that sometimes it kind of just makes you think a little, but it's done well enough that it's fine. It's fine. But anyway, as to why a lot of people have distaste for it is because there's so much representation, and that's not me pulling that out of my ass and
so they don't like representation?
But that's very much been reflected from so much of the internet. In this day of the age where social awareness is so pushed back upon as of recently, that having this amount of diversity in a movie has just attracted those people who are so riled up right now with hate and just utter bullshittedness.
Yeah, well,
that they'll make excuses for anything to not say what they think, but a lot of people have said what they think, and it's pretty obvious.
I mean, I guess that's also the thing, right? Is you will always get people who don't like that kind of representation, whether that be, LGBTQ plus, say, or not to spoilers, but
it's not spoilers.
I don't know, but I don't know what
people
think, but and like I said, with a more diverse cast, mind you, of course, I'm of the mind that there's always room for improvement. There's definitely more that they could have done,
of course,
in terms of say ethnic representation, right? So,
of course.
But it is definitely a big point, or rather an important part to point out that this whole movie was basically like bookended with an indigenous folklore, or like something that is so culturally important to them, and that has built that they've built a culture on, and that is really truly important, because again, in this day and age where we see a lot of just, I guess, by POCs suffering and still suffering, and it's 2020, and that's kind of really shitty, and again, in light of BLM as well. So I mean, I'm not saying that this was made with that in mind, because this was done way before then, and it was just delayed so long, but it comes at a good time, I think, for this kind of time, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
And that's why, again, is why I think this is a good movie. Perhaps not the most important one, but a good one in terms of, again, representation, and a good one at that, because you have this heroine who, again, comes from an indigenous background, and you don't always see that, especially in a Hollywood movie, and like a mainstream movie at that. So that was just really, really inspiring to see.
I do believe that nowadays they just blanket statement as superheroes are heroes instead of like heroes and like heroines now, which I'm like totally for, because that was just so stupid. Like,
okay,
if you're a hero, you're a hero. You don't have to like,
Okay, I accept that.
Yeah, that's just something that I've thought about for a while. That like, with the
I guess that's
new
just
change
not
of
really...
like actress and actor to just
right.
Everyone's just an actor,
Which
everyone
is
a hero.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like, that's cool.
Get with the times.
That's cool, I guess. Not even get with the times, but like, yeah, that's cool, I guess. But anyway, I also, first of all, one of the things that I thought was weird was the character of Roberto da Costa, otherwise known as Sunspot, the Brazilian in the film, didn't have an accent, and I thought that was kind of weird.
Well, he was also white.
He looked like he was some parts of white, but also pretty Brazilian.
Yeah, he was
as well.
very, very American.
But
even though his background was that he came straight from Brazil.
Yeah, I just thought that was a little weird. But of course, when you're such upper class, I guess you're vacationing in
I mean, I
America.
don't know.
But
Right,
anyway,
right. I just wouldn't know
that.
that.
Just popped into my mind right
I'm
now. I was
not-
like, wait a minute.
Fair enough.
But anyway,
One thing that I will say though is there were definitely inconsistencies with the actors' accents. Now,
for sure.
I'm
for
not
sure.
an accent expert. I can, like I can't even imitate any accent, which is I'm fine with, whatever. but you can hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like for
Some of them are
example,
pretty
with
bad.
with what was his name, Sam?
It's right there.
Yeah, so Sam and Rain, for example, their
Right. So
accents,
Maisie Williams and Charlie.
their accents in the beginning definitely threw me off because it was like at first when they were in that, so obviously moviegoers, not to spoil anything, but in the beginning there was a scene where it was kind of like an AA meeting where they were
It's group therapy.
Yeah, they're sat in a circle.
It's group therapy.
Okay, whatever. I've never been to group therapy, I guess, so I don't know. But basically, they were sat in a circle and they had to share the first time that they had discovered their power.
If you're in this far, spoilers. So.
Spoiler alert, sorry.
Yeah.
But
if you're listening to this,
and this was the first scene.
Expect it.
Okay, this is the first scene where all the characters talk for a longer period of time, other than hi, hello. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so Rain or Maisie Williams, I guess, like in the beginning when she started her like monologue, I guess, she sounded very American. She had no spot of Scottish accent at all, which I thought really, really weird. And then all of a sudden, when she came to that, there was a point in her story where she comes and says like, and then I changed. And then that was that. And then her accent also changed. And I was like, what the hell is happening?
Is this symbolism?
Is this symbolism? Like, is that also part of her change? Like, is she a shapeshifter to the point that she can
an accent shifter?
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. Is that part of it? I don't know.
power.
And then it turns out that throughout the whole thing, she is Scottish and she's supposed to be and so I was just like very thrown off by that. And then Charlie Heaton as well had at first
he was just all over the place.
He was all over the place, but like he had no southern accent at all. Just like your plain American accent, which is again totally normal because he's been in Stranger Things. That's the normal accent he was doing. But then all of a sudden
Isn't he American too?
No, he's not. He's English.
What?
I believe he's English or Australian. I think he's English.
Any behind the scenes or
but
interviews.
I heard an interview with him and what's her name? The girl who plays Nancy.
I don't remember her name.
But they were in an interview together, and she is American, and he's British, I think.
Whoa, that's crazy.
But anyways, so in the beginning, he had this like American, just your plain old American accent, like he does in Stranger Things, and then all of a sudden, he becomes
he
southern.
And dived.
Yeah,
sure. Even like in sentences.
Yeah, and I was
he
just
really
like, what's going on?
And dived.
And I mean, again, I'm no accent expert, and I can't even do a southern accent, but like, holy hell,
Yeah.
like you can tell that there's some shifts going on here. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was just kind of crazy, but that's coming from people who like really really like the movie, and it's not a big deal.
It wasn't a deal breaker, to be honest.
But anyway, what I had mentioned to you last night when we've seen it that I thought was really cool was there's no like vanilla American people in this movie, like
for sure
standard like Hollywood American.
Mm-hmm.
You have the antagonist who is I think she said she was from Mexico, but anyway, she was Latina.
Remember, yeah.
And then you had your main character who was indigenous, Cheyenne, right?
Yeah,
Cheyenne. And then you had Maisie Williams from Scotland.
Yeah.
You had Charlie Heaton, who was white from America, but he was also
southern boy.
The South, and that was cool. Like,
and he was poor.
Yeah, he was poor. He wasn't like
your rich average like Hollywood guy.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then you had Roberto, who was Brazilian, who was rich, but he was Brazilian, and you had Ilyana, who was Russian. So there was no like stereotypical Hollywood American in this movie, which I thought was really cool. That's so rare, especially for a movie that's released in America.
Right. That was also part of my point, is that cool. You don't have your stereotypical rich American, I guess.
But like, I think everyone knows that It's just like such an average person.
For Hollywood,
aggressively average.
Yeah. So that was really good. But yeah, and then I thought it was really cool, and I thought it was really interesting, being from Canada and all, but Danny's father is a Canadian actor.
Yeah, so Blue Hunt is her name, who played Danielle Moonstar.
Yeah.
Who's the main character. Her father,
Adam Beach,
is from Canada?
Yeah,
what part of Canada is he from?
Canadian. I think he's from Manitoba.
That's really cool.
I'm not too sure. I have to
Good
fact
for
check
him.
myself. But yeah, he's really cool.
You were telling me he's in a lot of things.
Well, he was in a lot of things that I mean
not in a lot of things, but
that I didn't recognize.
For an Indigenous actor, like or a First Nations actor, he's doing.
But one
really
that
well.
I do remember is from Combat Hospital, which I don't know how big that show really was here in Canada, but I really loved it. I watched it when it was airing, and wait, when did it air? I can't remember if I watched it when it was airing or if I watched like reruns of it. I'm not sure anywhere, but anyhow, he was in Combat Hospital, and I love that show. I do highly recommend it. It's basically about this, military hospital in Afghanistan, and it's really well done. But again, also, I don't know, advocating for, again, Canadian content, I guess, and Canadian actors and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I absolutely really liked it. Anyways,
yeah,
he was in that, and he was in this movie.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
And I just looked up where he's from. He's from Asher in Manitoba.
Oh, okay,
and I looked it
Manitoba.
up, population 565.
Oh boy, rough.
No, but like that's so incredible that he is even.
Yes, yeah.
That he even got out of that small town, let alone
for sure.
He's actually made it into
Hollywood, mainstream Hollywood.
Not even mainstream Hollywood, but any kind of entertainment industry is
for sure
so hard that man, much respect.
Yeah, no, he's been in a few things. So yeah, it was just really, really cool. But also it was just it was just really cool to see. He's in Suicide Squad.
He played the worst character in Suicide Squad, Slipknot.
Worst how? Like really bad? Or
well, yeah, because they make such a point of saying that his character is just like the worst person ever. Like I forget, he's a rapist. He's a something. It was so long since I've seen that movie. But like, yeah, they like make him out to be like the worst character ever to justify like them like blowing off his head like in like 10 minutes.
He's in Monkey Beach.
I've never heard of that.
That is a novel, I believe. So that must be an adaptation of that.
Yeah. Anyway,
so that's kind of cool.
So that was kind of. Do you have any other thoughts of the New Mutants?
Honestly,
I think that's pretty much wrapped it up. It was a good movie. 100%. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I quite liked it. And I don't know. I don't really have any deal breakers / bigger complaints other than the shifting accents in the beginning. But I mean, whatever. That's such a small thing. Overall, there's definitely a lot more to unpack in this movie in terms of
course,
the other characters, but we obviously just don't have the time and space for that right now. But
maybe we'll mention them like in another. Also, what I wanted to say before we wrapped up is that we are thinking of maybe doing a commentary track for a movie.
You were thinking that. I don't know what movie
it will be. I think I want to do one on a Netflix, something that's on Netflix, so it's easy for people to
follow on.
Follow up on. To watch while they play a commentary track.
Well,
there's so much fun. I love commentary tracks so much.
I suggest, I don't know, Moana or something.
We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, so we hope to do that in the future. Hopefully not as long as a break as these episodes are.
Yay, Corona. Yeah, no kidding. We've really...
I mean... At least we'll be back next week, so...
Are you sure about that? Because I had to force you to record this episode.
I just love saying that. It's so funny. Because we never are.
It's just a running gag now, I think. But
it has been for a while.
Yeah, no. But
I think
anyway,
I still want to continue it anyway.
We're doing well. We're keeping safe. Please do keep safe out there. Take care. Wear a mask, please, and sanitize your hands.
Also, tune in next week for the next episode.
Stop saying that. Okay, peace.
Bye.